Dear learners, greetings of the day. In today's session, we shall be studying about fortified wines. So far, in previous session, we have studied about white wines, red wines, those are still wines, and sparkling wines. In fortified wines, the objectives of session are to understand the definition of fortified wines with the examples, to study about Solera system, which is utilized or which is a part of manufacturing fortified wines, and to understand in brief about very popular fortified wines of sherry, port, and Madeira. Let's understand the definition of fortified wines. Fortified wines are defined or can be defined as wines which are fortified with a distilled spirit. The step of fortification is to increase the alcohol content. The word fortified means strengthened. Types of fortified wines are port, sherry, Madeira, Malaga, and Marsala. Fortified wines, because of their alcoholic content, are also termed as heavy wines, and the alcoholic content ranges between 17 to 20% alcohol by volume. Let's quickly understand how are fortified wines made. Fortified wines are blends of various grapes, and the type of grape that is utilized will depend on the type of wine that is being produced. The basic steps or the primary steps of harvesting, crushing, pressing, fermentation are very similar to still wines, but a step of fortification is added and is important. This particular step of fortification means adding neutral grape spirit or a neutral grain spirit or brandy in the wine. The amount of wine that can be fermented before being fortified will determine whether the wine will be sweet or dry. And this will happen because once the alcohol is added or once the grape spirit is added to the wine, the yeast is being killed. Remaining sugars will turn as residual sugars. After that, we have aging, and aging is very specific to fortified wines. Aging is also important, and most of the fortified wines are aged in oak barrels. There is a specific system called as Solera system. Let's understand what is Solera system. Solera system was first conceived in Spain for making of sherry and is till date utilized for aging of fortified wines. Also, to addition of fortified wines, a particular brand of rum also utilizes Solera system for aging. Let's understand what is Solera system. Solera system is a system where there are several rows of identical barrels which are aligned and which are kept. The most bottom row is called as Solera and has the oldest wine. Each row is termed as scale or criadera, and the number of criadera in system is not fixed. There may be 10 to 14 criaderas in the system. The bottom row of barrels is termed as Solera, which contains the oldest sherry, and the topmost criadera is topped with new wine. At the time of bottling, up to 1/3 of the wine is drawn from each barrel in the bottom row of the Solera, and subsequently the barrels are replenished with wine drawn from barrels from first criadera, the second criadera, and so on. This method is also termed as running the scale. This particular method of Solera helps the older wines to get the nutrients from the younger wines. And it also maintains the consistency in the wine. Let's take a look at types of fortified wines. Our first is port. Port is one of the great fortified wines which is produced from the grapes grown in Douro region of Portugal. This wine is protected by law, and the term port can be utilized to describe only Portuguese port wines. A flavorless brandy of around 77% alcohol, known as aguardiente, is added to the wine during the fermentation process when the grape juice reaches to 7% ABV. This gives the wine sweet flavor. It's because the fermentation of sugar is stopped at that point. Port wine is, although white and rosé port wines are also produced, most of the port is red. A fun fact about port wine: this style of wine was introduced accidentally. The Methuen Treaty of 1703 between British and Portuguese government included shipping of wines to England, and in order to stabilize and preserve the quality of wine during sea voyage, some quantity of brandy was added. Now it has become a practice. The quality of port wines are tasted and certified by Port Wine Institute, and it also keeps the record of port wines produced. Moving ahead, let's take a look at styles of port wines. Ruby port. It is the youngest and the cheapest youngest red port, which is made by blending of wines for more than 1 year. From more than 1 year. It is matured in wood barrels until it becomes ruby. A ruby port is fruity and ruby in color and barrel aged for around less than 3 years. If the ruby ports are aged for 5 years, they become reserve ruby port. Next, we have a Stwani port. It is made by blending ports and maturing them in cask for at least 7 years. Some 20 ports are matured in wood for 10, 20, 30 or over 40 years, and particularly is indicated on the label. Next style we have is a white port. It is made from white grapes and is pale gold in color. It is dry in taste and is suitable as an aperitif. You can also expect a white port to exhibit brighter flavors like stone fruit, apple, citrus peels, and toasted nuts. A reserve white port is aged at least 7 years. Let's take a look at second popular fortified wine known as sherry. Sherry originates from Andalusia in south of Spain and is Spanish origin. The chalky soils of this region help to produce a wine with a slightly salty taste. The primary grapes that are utilized in production of sherry are Palomino and Pedroximen. Understanding about manufacturing of sherry: once the grapes are pressed, they are taken in nearby warehouses where they are placed in wooden barrels for fermentation. The fermentation lasts for about 3 months. After fermentation, all the sherries that are dry white wine are with 10 to 14% of alcohol. Then grape brandy is added, or step of fortification is added, bringing the alcoholic strength to around 15%. With sherry, while developing of the sherry or while aging, sherry also, while making of sherry, Solera system is utilized. The classification of sherry is done on the basis of development of flor. So it's a phenomena that occurs that no one can predict which cask will have the formation of flor and which will not have it. It still remains unanswered why casks containing wines pressed from the same grapes at the same time from the same vineyard develop differently. And the formation of flor may occur within 18 to 24 months after fortification during storage. It restricts the air interacting with the wine and prevents it from oxidation, thus keeping a wine as pale and delicate. And so the styles of sherry, studying about styles of sherry or types of sherry, the formation of flor plays a very important role. And a complete development, the first type of sherry is Pinot. It's a dry sherry. That means there was a complete layer of yeast developed or flor that produced a lighter drink, both in color and style. Our next style or type of sherry is Manzanilla. It is similar to Fino, but it is slightly sharper in taste. It is palest, light and dry. It is again, it also has a salty tang of the sea air, and the alcoholic content is between 15 to 16%. Next type of sherry is Amontillado. It is amber yellow in color with dry nutty flavor, and it is it spends 8 years in the wood barrels. With the barrel aging, it also gets the color and acquires the nutty flavor. And next type is Oloroso. Oloroso in Spanish means fragrant. These sherries have strongest fragrance of all the sherries. Sherry that does not develop the flor, but this particular sherry, it grows dark and flavorful with age. And the alcohol strength is of 20%. Next, we have Taluk Cortado. It is between Oloroso and Amontillado. It is a rare type of sherry and contains the alcohol percentage of 18 to 21%. The last type we have is cream sherry. It is smooth, full, sweet wine, and it is pale reddish to brownish in color, and it can be from medium to sweet. Let's take a look at third most popular fortified wine. It is Madeira. Madeira is a Portuguese fortified wine that comes from the island of Madeira in Atlantic Ocean. During the 18th century, when the wines were shipped to Britain from her colonies, the wines were heated during the sea voyage, which developed a mellow burn flavor and improved the quality. And this gave the birth to Madeira wine. Now, Madeira wine is also called as cooked wine because of a very specific step that is utilized in production of Madeira wines. Let's take a look at that process. That process is called as estufa gem. So after pressing, the juice is quickly transported to the capital city of Ireland for fermentation. The wine that is obtained is fortified with the local brandy, and that is particularly stored in pipes, which is cask, and it is placed in estufa. So estufa is a large centrally heated store, and the cask containing wines are gradually heated to 50 degrees, and held at this temperature for about 3 months and then slowly cool down to normal temperatures. So with this continuous process of heating the wine with the temperature, and this wine is basically heated with the help of hot water running through the pipes. So this results in caramel-like flavor to the wine, which was very similar to the ones that were developed during the sea voyage. This particular step also stabilizes the wine and increases the quality. Let's understand different types or styles of Madeira. Madeira is named after the grapes that are used in preparation, and they are given in ascending order of sweetness. So the first one is Cecil. It is the brightest, crispiest style of Madeira and the driest Madeira, which has a slight flavor or almond flavor. It is mostly or generally served as an aperitif at the start of the meal and pairs up well with light fish or vegetable dishes. Next one we have is Verdejello. Verdejello is a smokier, slightly more concentrated and richer than Cecier. It goes well with soups. Next we have is Buol. Buol, it's a full-bodied sweet wine. It shows incredible complexity, and it is excellent with desserts that incorporate nuts, figs, caramel or chocolate. It is also very popular or a good pairing with rich cheese. The last one we have is Mamsi. That is a dark, rich wine which is full of flavor, and it is regarded as one of the finest wines. It is the richest and sweetest style of Madeira, which pairs up really well with rich chocolate desserts and ice creams and also cheese. Also, depending on the sweetness in the wine, the color also changes. So it moves from lighter to darker. Thank you. I request students of AISSMS to click on the link given in the description to take the quiz on fortified wines. Happy learning. Thank you.